If you haven't been able to get your hands on the medical exam paper I use to make transparent collage papers, I have some really exciting alternatives for you today. Join me while I experiment and share what I did to get the results I got. Spoiler alert, there are some clear winners. I'm Jackie Bernardi, and welcome to my studio. So many of you have written to me asking where you could get the medical exam paper that I use. And I have been so sorry to tell most people that it is only available in the United States. And I've had several people write in and make suggestions for maybe other medical exam papers that could be used. And very few of them actually do the exact same thing. So I thought instead of telling you I couldn't help you, I wanted to figure out if I could. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to do all sorts of experiments with all sorts of different mediums to see if I can create paper that will go transparent when used in collage. It's not enough today just to be translucent. I am going for transparent. So I am going to show you an example of what I'm talking about right here with the medical exam paper. This is just a page from my cookbook art journal. And I have a piece of medical exam paper that I did this really dreamy blue washy ink print on. And it's quite dry. I did that a few weeks ago. And what I'm doing now is laying down some medium, some gloss medium. I'm spreading it out. And then I am going to put the medical exam paper down on top of it. And that's when you're going to see the magic. If you are not familiar with this, here's the formula. Gloss medium goes down first onto the page. Then you get the medical exam paper soaking wet on both sides with water. You lay it down on top of the wet gloss medium, and then you go over it with more gloss medium. I don't know technically why this works, but I suspect that the paper is so saturated with water that when as the gloss medium dries, everything stays transparent, and it truly does. So you'll see in a moment when I lift off this excessive amount of gloss medium that I put down. But you are going to see that all the edges of that medical exam paper have disappeared into the page, and that you can see through the blue right down to the substrate, the painting that I already had on this page. And this is part of the magic of using transparent papers in collage. You can build up really beautiful textures and even stories by doing this. So, because not all of you can get your hands on the medical exam paper, it was really important for me to find a way for you to do it. So this here is the medical exam paper that I use. It's crepe style medical exam paper. It is made by McKesson. It's available on Amazon. I have links to it in so many videos, including this one. If you're able to get it, I really do recommend that you get it because it's far easier to use than the things I'm going to show you today. There's nothing that I'm going to show you that's hard. It's just extra steps to get what you're going to. All right. So again, what I'm going after is transparency, not translucency. What I have here is regular old tissue paper, the exact same type of tissue paper that you would put inside a gift or a gift bag. It's very thin. It's very fragile. If you've ever used it, you know that when you put water on regular tissue paper and try to lift it, it's going to tear many times and break apart. So my objective here today is to find a way to make to make tissue paper go completely transparent and be strong enough to be able to use and tear up for collage and not have it disintegrate. So I am taking some of this poly-coated brown paper. If you don't have this, I'm going to show you another option later. The reason why I love this paper is because nothing sticks to it. So I can put on layer after layer after layer of acrylic medium, let it all dry, and I will be able to peel it right off. And that's why I knew I wanted to use that. Now, this is the start of the first experiment. And what I'm doing is I'm spraying the poly-coated paper with water and getting it nice and wet. You can see the water beating up there. What I'm going to do is lay the tissue paper. This is just regular tissue paper. I'm laying it down into the water. And as you can see, right away, it absorbed all the water. I will tell you, at this moment, this paper is as fragile as can be, and I need to be mindful of that. So I'm putting down some gloss medium. This happens to be Golden's gloss medium, but you could use any gloss medium. And I'm spreading it over this very, very wet tissue paper with a silicone paint shaper. And the reason why I chose to use this is you can be very gentle with it. So I'm just barely touching this paper and moving the gloss medium around. And because there's so much water on the poly-coated paper and it was absorbed into the paper that it's now even on top of the paper, it's soaking wet. So I had to remove some and I was not careful. You can see there, I actually ripped the tissue paper right out of the gate. Awesome. So I'm thinking about what I want to do, and I still believe that I can get what I want to get out of this if I just leave it alone. So I'm going to move it out of the way, and I'm going to let that dry the way it is for now and see if I can save it later. So I'm going to roll into the second experiment here, and I'm just taping down the poly-coated paper just because it's curling up and I don't want to be fighting the poly-coated paper while I'm really trying to focus on the experiment that I'm doing here. So this is second experiment. This time I'm going to go a little tiny bit off formula. So remember, the formula for getting medical exam paper to go transparent is get the medical exam paper soaking wet, lay down gloss medium on the page you're going to adhere it to, put down the wet paper, and then go over it with gloss medium. This time we're not adding water to this. So I just put gloss medium down on the poly-coated paper. I'm laying the tissue paper on top of that. And then I'm going to go over the top of the tissue paper with more gloss medium. And I'll do that in just a moment. But for right now, what I want to do is spread out the gloss medium that's underneath the tissue paper. Okay. One thing that I'm noticing right away is that the tissue paper has become extremely wrinkly, and I don't really know how that will impact this experiment, right? At the moment, it looks like that's going to be a fail, but I don't know. I don't know if the water has something magical in it that just helps it lay down better. But for now, I'm not going to worry about it. I'm trying to keep this as simple as possible so it is as accessible to everyone as I can make it. Most people have some kind of gloss medium. Most people can get their hands on tissue paper. The combination is what I'm trying to get. So now I've moved on to experiment number 3. And this time I am introducing the gel plate because I always do. And I put the gloss medium down directly on the gel plate first. And I just got a nice coating. It's full coverage, so it's on there now. And I'm going to lay the paper down right on top of it on the gel plate. I am not going to pull a print here in the traditional way. And again, remember, this tissue paper is incredibly delicate. So I'm going to have to be careful. What you just saw me do there is I just sprayed the top of the tissue paper with water. So it was already resting in the gel medium that was on the plate. And I felt pretty safe in spraying it with water so long as I was gentle with the silicone paint shaper. And I was successful with that. I didn't rip the paper. Yay me. So there is a way to get water on the paper without ripping it, but now I'm not exactly sure how I'm going to get this paper off the gel plate. So I thought I would put another piece of the poly-coated paper down, the shiny side down on top of the tissue paper. And now I'm going to try to pull up the tissue paper. Now that ripped. From that end, it ripped. So now I'm going to just try from this end. It was successful. I will tell you, if this ends up being a successful way of creating transparent paper, what I will suggest to you is take your time and practice how to pull it off a gel plate without ripping it. I was really lucky with that it didn't rip. And I'm going to have to practice that many times if that ends up being successful. So just know that all of this today is just to find a way. It's not to make perfect. All right. So moving on to the next experiment. I'm moving away from the gloss medium now. And this time I'm actually going to use glazing medium. So it's a Liquitex product that I'm using, but I'm sure any glazing medium would probably create the same or very similar result as to what I'm doing, so long as it's not a matted glaze medium, right? So I chose to roll this one out. I always have a brayer handy. And again, I just put so much of that glaze down. Um, have to pull it off. It's too much. I'm not trying to ruin the tissue paper. I'm actually really trying to get to something successful here. But I seem to have a heavy hand with the product today. The very first thing that I'm noticing with this glazing medium is that it's spreading beautifully underneath this tissue paper, which is giving me a lot of hope, frankly. Um, we'll see. I mean, it's doing that weird wrinkling thing, and I don't know if the wrinkles will relax as the tissue paper and the medium dries. I'm hopeful that that will happen. I'm just not sure. But like I said, the way that the medium, or excuse me, the glaze is moving underneath the tissue paper is making me hopeful. All right. So put that off to the side. Everything I'm putting off to the side, I'm going to take it outside to dry later. It's a nice sunny day, so it should dry, fairly quickly. But here's my airbrush medium. Now, this is the one that I believe is going to be most successful. And why am I believing that? I have absolutely no idea. I love using the airbrush medium. It is actually not glossy, but it's also not matte. Uh, it's so thin, and that's why I think this is going to work. That's my hypothesis, is it's just so liquidy, and yet it has binder qualities in it that I think is going to strengthen the paper enough so that it will be transparent once it dries, and also strong enough for me to be able to use to paint on or to draw on or do whatever I'm going to do in terms of translucent papers for collage. All right, so I'm just rolling it on the top. I'm being super, super gentle. I am extremely aware of how wet this tissue paper is, and I don't want to tear it all like that first one again. I don't want that to happen. So again, lots of wrinkles. They might settle, they might not. I just don't know. We'll find out. Uh, Now I'm moving into heavier mediums. Um, I have them. I wanted to see if they work. I really don't know what will work here, so I'm just going to throw everything at it. Now, this gloss gel medium, this happens to be a Liquitex product, but all of the major brands have some form of a gel-based gloss medium. This is a heavier medium, as you can see. I'm spreading it with a palette knife. And my thought process here is I know it will dry clear. I mean, the medium will dry clear. I don't know if the viscosity of the gel medium is going to prevent transparency with the tissue paper. It may not do anything. It may be fabulous. It may create a really nice, strong tissue paper. I don't know. So I just thought I'd give it a whirl. Now, as I was spreading it around, it felt kind of stiff. So I just hit it with a tiny bit of water from the spray bottle, not very much. And I wouldn't even say water was included with this. I just, needed to loosen it up just a tiny bit. So that's what I did. And now I'm going over the top with the same exact uh, gel medium, the gloss gel medium, and spreading it around with the silicone paint shaper. I will tell you, um, it is incredible how the medium is moving around underneath and above the tissue paper. And I feel extremely confident that this will be a strong, strong paper when it dries. Meaning I can probably place it on a gel plate and pull prints without any worry of it tearing. I'm guessing, guys. I don't know yet. We're going to find out. I haven't mentioned it. I always have a continuous spray bottle in just about every single video, but I'm mentioning it now. I'm spraying the water for all of this through the continuous spray bottle, and the reason for that is it's a super fine mist, and I feel like I have a lot of control over the amount of water I use in this experiment by using that. All right? So put some of this gel gloss medium directly on the gel plate. I've actually never done that before, so this is exciting just for that. It may inspire me to use the gel medium on the gel plate in future videos. We'll see. I anticipate it's going to move around underneath just like the one before did, and that felt great. If you don't have a gel plate, that's just fine. You can just use the poly-coated paper. You can use any type of plastic that will release the acrylic medium when it dries. Uh, I'm just using it because I have it, and I know a lot of you have it. And I don't know, I just suspect that something is going to come out of the gel plate version of these tissue papers. Maybe that's just me being extremely optimistic. I don't know. As I'm spreading this out, I have an entire free gel plate video course in my private community, which is a free resource community that you are welcome to join. And the link to join that is down in the description below. It will also be in the comments. Aside from the gel plate video course, I have so many other free resources and a really terrific community. So if you want to hear from me, if you want to see what I'm up to or what's going on in this community, if you want to get your hands on all these free resources, then please sign up. I don't love the feel of the gel medium on my hands. It feels a little bit like glue or paste, and I hate that feeling on my fingers even though it's always on my fingers, so that was my reaction before, but I did that same technique to get the tissue paper off the gel plate. I just put a piece of the poly-coated paper down on top of it and then pulled it up that way to keep it intact, and it did. So, again, do that carefully if you're going to do it, but that is a way to get it off the plate. Now, what you see me doing here is I'm just making a couple of gel prints on text-based paper. It's actually an old encyclopedia, really old encyclopedia, and I'm only going to pull a couple of prints. And the reason why I'm doing this is when we're done with all the experiments, we have to be able to see if it worked or not, right? So I'm just going to pull a couple prints, one dark, so that magenta one is the dark one, and then a lighter one. So this is iridescent gold from Golden that I'm putting down. The other color was the primary magenta. Both are fluid acrylics, putting them down on the plate. And when I pull this print, I'm going to also use the encyclopedia paper. The reason for that is you can see the text through the dark paint. And that's going to be the test if we have transparency, if we can see all of that through these papers when we collage them on in just a little bit. So you can see this is a much lighter paper than the magenta one. All right, I'm going to move that right out of the way. All right, here's the alternative method if you don't have poly-coated paper. And the poly-coated paper is just freezer paper. Butchers use it. But if you don't have it, you could use pretty much any type of plastic that is just slick. So you think thicker grocery bags. The really thin ones, I'm not so sure. But this here is actually very thin painter's plastic, the type of plastic that painters put up when they're painting a house. And I just put it down on a board, taped it down on a board. And this medium here that I put down is pouring medium. And it's a product by Golden, although almost all the major lines have some version of a pouring medium. And so I use the pouring medium. It's much thicker than airbrush medium and much thinner. Well, it seems to be much thinner than, well, maybe not much thinner. It's thinner than regular gel medium. So it's kind of that go-between, and I wanted to see how that would work. It's smoothing out, well, let me put it this way. The medium is smoothing out nicely underneath the tissue paper. The tissue paper is wildly wrinkled, and it has been for almost all of these experiments. So again, not really sure how that will end up when all is said and done, but we're going to find out pretty soon. So yeah, you can really see the texture of the wrinkling right now. And that is not because of the I don't think it's because of the plastic underneath. I just really think it's the medium mixing with the tissue paper. So to find out, I'm putting down some gloss medium and just rolling it out. And then I'm going to do the same thing, put the tissue paper on top of it, and then go over the top with more gloss medium. The sandwiching of the tissue paper, I think, is going to be important. I don't think it's enough just to do one side of the paper with these mediums. I don't think the tissue paper would be strong enough. We'll see. As we're finishing up this part right here of this experiment, what we've done so far is 9 different experiments, 9 different ways to try to achieve transparency with tissue paper, and not just transparency with tissue paper, but transparent tissue papers that you can actually use on a gel plate and that you can use, you can paint on vigorously without it tearing. Yes, you could just use regular tissue paper without any medium and then put it down using medium, but you wouldn't be able to get the beautiful paintings and the beautiful textures that you can get when you have a stronger paper to put all of that on. All right. So this was test number 1, the one that I destroyed. This was the tissue paper. I used water. I used gel medium. I put the tissue paper down and I went over it with water and gel medium, and it ripped, as you can see. But even while this tissue paper is dry, meaning I'm not actually putting it down on the paper yet with the medium, I can already tell it's very translucent. I won't know if it goes to transparent until we actually glue it down. Right now, I'm just going to tape it down. I'm going to do all of the gluing at the same time. But what I'm doing here is I'm tearing off a piece of each experiment that we did, and I'm putting one piece of it on the dark gel print paper and one piece on the light gel print paper to see if we've actually attained transparency instead of translucency, right? So it's still going to be just a minute before we find out for sure. But looking at this, so this was the gel medium and the gel medium with the tissue in between, no water at all. And you could see my hand through that. I mean, that was pretty transparent without any other medium. The without other medium thing is important, right? All of these tests will be somewhat translucent while they're dry. Okay. Same thing with medical exam paper. Medical exam paper is actually very translucent when it's dry. When you wet it and then use the medium, that's when it goes transparent. All right. So as I am taping all these experiments down onto these 2 pages, they're just hanging out. They're not glued yet. It's going to look remarkably different, or I hope it will look remarkably different once we start gluing them down with the gloss medium. Right. So this was experiment number 3 with the gel plate and the gloss medium. That was just exciting for me because I had never really done that before with the gel plate, sandwiching, a piece of paper between medium below it and medium above it. And it actually gives me some ideas for doing two-sided prints at once. I don't know if that would work, who knows? But that's something I can experiment with later. This one here is the glazing medium, and this one was a little more difficult to pull off the poly-coated paper, but not so difficult that it tore. It was just noticeable. This one actually looks like and feels like waxed paper, like the stuff that you have in your kitchen. I mean, it feels so much like it. It could if you put it in somebody's hand, they'd probably think it was waxed paper, and that was cool. Here is the airbrush medium, and it's coming off just fine. It feels very strong. It's super shiny on the poly-coated side. It's not so shiny on the other side, and it's not very translucent either. I mean, it is translucent, but so far out of all of the all of the tissue that we've pulled so far, that one has been the most opaque, even though it's not opaque, but it's been the most opaque. So yeah, that was experiment number 5. I am so curious how these are gonna turn out once we start, gluing them down with the gel medium. So this one was gloss gel medium on the bottom, laid the tissue down, and then gloss gel medium on top. The weird little wrinkling kinda stayed. Oh, this one is kind of tenacious. It's, on the edge there. It's really hanging on to the tissue paper. It tore there a little bit. I'm not upset about it, but I am noticing it. This paper feels more dense, and that would make sense because it was the gel gloss medium. It's not as transparent as some of the other papers. And it is a bugaboo to tear. It's not awful to tear like some papers, but it's much harder to tear than any of the papers that we've done so far today. So that's notable. I mean, if tearing is part of your process when you create collage, that's something to note as well. This one here is the pouring medium, and that came off very nicely. It's super shiny on both sides. It's quite transparent-ish? I don't know. I don't know what to say about that. Um, it is not tearing as easily as most of the others. It tore more easily though than the gel the gel gloss medium ones. And then what do we have here? Oh, yes. Here we go. So this is the final, and this is the pouring medium over the tissue, under the tissue, pouring medium on top, and this is on the very thin plastic. That came out much more transparent than the other pouring medium, which is very interesting to me. I don't know why that would be. I may have to experiment with that more later, but it tore quite nicely. I will say none of these papers feel fragile anymore. They are to a certain degree, some of them, but they don't feel fragile, and that presents exciting opportunities too in terms of different things to create. This was the gel medium, again, on top of the super thin plastic paper, then the tissue paper sandwiched inside. That really there's no reason it should be different at all from the second experiment that we did, except I just wanted to try it. So I don't know if the thinness or the thickness of the plastic is on has any bearing at all. We're about to find out, that's for sure. Okay. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to glue down all these papers, essentially using the same method that I use with the medical exam paper. And the reason why I'm doing that is because I know for a fact that when I use gloss medium and water and a tissue or whatever, I have a better chance of getting a transparent finish if I use gloss. If I use a matted medium, or matte medium as we all call it will not go, I know for a fact, will not go transparent. It'll go translucent and beautifully translucent, but not transparent. Today, I am interested in showing you how you can get transparency without having medical exam paper, all right? So I've just taken the gloss medium on the light colored page. Everything is glued down now. And now I'm going over underneath and over. And I did that with every single piece of paper on the light paper. I'm doing the same thing on the dark paper. First, you go underneath with the gloss medium, and then you go over the top with the gloss medium, right? And if there's an excessive amount of medium left on the paper, I'm going to take it off because I don't want that to interfere with our results at all. And although on the dark paper right now, it pretty much looks like everything went completely transparent, we don't know yet. We have to wait for everything to dry completely before we know. And so I waited 3 hours. This baked out in the sunshine, so everything is dry, dry, dry. And now we're going to find out what actually happened here, okay? So this, I chose to use the metallic because the great thing about metallic is if there's anything, and if there's anything wrong on top of it in terms of collage, you're going to see it 100%. So as I bend this paper and as I move it around, I am truly impressed with almost all of the tests on the light paper. I mean, I see transparency. On this dark paper, not so much. There's the first three, 1, 2, and 3, all went completely transparent on the dark paper. But my gosh, look at number 6 over there. You can totally see the paper, and that was the gel gloss medium. So I think that the heavy medium is too much for what we're trying to accomplish here. But look at that. You can't see where the tissue paper is. I mean, that's how transparent it went. So, winner, winner, chicken dinner. I'm going to claim it right now. Numbers 1, 2, and 3. Any one of those techniques will likely get you to transparent without having to use medical exam paper. How cool is that? Now let's take numbers 1, 2, and 3 and put something on them and then collage them into this piece here. I'm just going to keep this simple. This has already been a long video, but I really want you to see what's possible here based on this. So for anyone in any part of the world, if you cannot get your hands on the medical exam paper, I've just shown you 9 different ways that you could try using regular tissue paper, which I'm sure you can get, and gloss medium, all right? The commonality here is that gloss medium. So I just took a permanent ink pen, just drew some Jackie squiggles on it, and now I'm going to put those on top of our collage here so that you can see the transparency in action. And then what I really hope you will do is take what you learned here and start experimenting on your own with the products that you have and seeing where it goes. But I can't tell you how happy I am that at least one of these worked, but 3 came out beautifully, and all of them actually came out very well except the, gel gloss medium. That was a little too opaque for what I was trying to get here today, right? So all I did was I put down the gloss medium on the collaged piece that was down there. I sprayed this whole piece with water, the experimental piece. I sprayed front and back with water. And then I laid it down and then put gloss medium on top of it. Now you can see what was below it, and it looks like it looks like I drew on it. I mean, literally on the collage page in the book, not on a piece of tissue paper that was put in there. And that's the whole point, right? It's not to make squiggles. You can make squiggles directly onto a piece of artwork that you make. That's not the point here. But that gorgeous layering that you can create and accomplish when you are gel printing or collaging, um, sometimes you need something that you can't get organically. And so you create it in a way that is somewhat manufactured. So that is this idea of creating transparency on something that wouldn't ordinarily be transparent, right? So I numbered each one of these so we could see them. The first one that went down was from experiment number 1. That second piece that I put down a moment ago was from experiment number 2. This piece that I'm putting down now was experiment number 3. You can, of course, go back and rewatch to see exactly what I did with each one to get the transparency. But look at that. It is just melting into the page. I mean, it's disappeared. It is 100% transparent. I am so happy this worked. And I'm so happy that for people in all parts of the world that you have options now. And that's really what this was about. I don't think any of us are helpless to our art supplies. I think there is a way always to accomplish what you want to accomplish. So I hope you take what I did today and bring it into your own practice so that you can create things that no one else can. Thank you so much for being here. It's a pleasure to be here every single week, and I hope this has been helpful. If you're interested in what I would recommend watching next, this is it. Thanks so much for being here.